What's up, brothers and sisters? It's your brother G World 7_D. Yeah, I want to follow up what I talked about a little bit yesterday. I actually went to one of those Juneteenth events yesterday, and I finished my run, so I'm doing my walk down. I I went to the one in Morgan Park, Beverly area. It's not far from me anyway. The 43 zip code 60643. All right. They had numerous ones, but I went to that one. I stayed there for about a couple hours, walked around a little bit. But I want to talk about what I observed. Um, when I went out there, first off, it's in that little small park. I think it's called Rowan Park, whatever. There's like two little small parks, but it was in that one small park by the Metro train station. And Metro train, if you don't know about Chicago, goes deep into the suburbs and into through the city. Goes like from the south suburbs or the northern suburbs to the city, and all the way out to the south suburbs. And I think one of them is the South Bend line that goes to South Bend, Indiana. That may be a little bit different, but it's a South Bend line. But in Kennedy, I think it's the Hegewisch area. It's the Hegewisch area. That's one of the major metro stopping points. Yeah, over the Hegewisch area, but that's east. But I'm gonna get back to my point. I went to the Juneteenth festival, and yeah, yeah. I mean, I usually don't go to stuff, but I usually just drive around, look. But this time I decided I'll walk around. It wasn't. They had a brother on stage, I guess a DJ on there, and I guess some musicians. They might have had an actual band later, but I had left. And what I want to say though is that one of the brothers up there said that here in Chicago we have a unique culture. Chicago has a unique culture. This is Juneteenth, but we got a unique culture in Chicago. So I guess the word may be spreading to some people about uniqueness of various different regions of black people, but I didn't see any Juneteenth flags. All right. What I did see, it wasn't necessarily a flag, but it's sort of like stuff they had tied around the poles, wraps, whatever. It was in the color red, black, and green. That had nothing to do with Juneteenth. They didn't respect the Juneteenth. Now some of the houses over there had a red, black, and green American flag and a Juneteenth flag. They didn't have. I think I've only seen one person with the one from the '67 flag with the sword up in there and the stars. That's actually the best looking one. But they didn't have no Juneteenth flags, you know. And you know, a lot of Negroes are out there. Some of them are bootleg, but it just tells me that our people, if you're gonna do stuff like that, you need to, I guess, you should have had the Juneteenth flag instead of red, black, and green flag. I didn't understand that. So when I was out there, it wasn't necessarily they had the flag out. It was wrapped around a pole. They didn't have no flag per se out there, but they had that. And then it was some people talking about do something for the African American family. I mean, they kind of looked at me, said I wasn't down with that because I would have spilled the main man. We're not African American. We're Aboriginal Black Americans. But besides the point, I didn't see necessarily a flag, but I seen the stuff tied around the poles, red, black, and green. They did that last year. I'm like, people already told them what the quote Juneteenth flag happened to be, and you still putting that red, black, and green out there. I don't understand it, man. That was really a head scratcher, but that brother did bring that up somewhat, the DJ, talking about the uniqueness, I guess, the Chicago culture, the difference of different regions. And each region, like Chicago style stepping started here in Chicago. One Negro claims he started it, then I heard another Negro claim it. I heard from the west side and some people from the south side. I don't know. Okay, but all I know is that Chicago style stepping is not only throughout the United States, and it's different styles, our brothers and sisters throughout the United States, but I know it's done in France, Chicago style stepping. They do it in the UK. You see, they do it in Brazil. Yeah, it's a small number of people. Well, they started to grow now. It started small, but it's growing. They do Chicago style stepping in Brazil. So, but that's the point of like each society have their unique culture. But I was wondering, why would you have the red, black, and green flag? And people kept talking about that, making an issue out of that. You having the red, black, and green flag, or those colors, at a Juneteenth event. They had nothing to do with no Juneteenth. Now, majority of people I've seen out there were unquestionably Aboriginal Black Americans. I seen a few mixed kids out there and a few white people out there. All right, but most of them are overwhelmingly Aboriginal Black Americans. There were a few, I can say, Africans out there. There was a few of them out there. But yeah, I can say it was mostly Aboriginal Black Americans, but they still had that red, black, and green flag. It made me scratch my head, man. Why would you, no, well, not necessarily flag, tied around the poles. And I don't know what they necessarily call them things, but they I ain't gonna say a rag, but it was in the flag colors. And I just scratched my head. Why you do that? If you're gonna honor something, man, and you believe in something, won't you have the true flag? Now, most of the festivities, they usually do them on a Saturday. There's something going to be done today and a Sunday. And then Monday will have some stuff. They probably popping a bunch of fireworks, man. That's when that stuff is going crazy. Since 2020, the fireworks popping and going off crazy. But that was a pandemic, but damn. Over in Indiana, northwest Indiana, which I'm not far, when you're on the south side of Chicago and the south suburbs, you're near northwest Indiana. And right there on Indianapolis Boulevard, near the Hammond Casino, I forgot what the name of it is. The Horseshoe, I believe what it is. That casino that's on a boat. But they have a bunch of gas stations right there because a lot of Chicago people will come and go to those damn gas stations over there because Indiana gas is cheaper. All right. So you go over there and get your gas, but then they have a lot of those firework places. One in the garage at one of the gas stations. Then they got another firework place down the street on Indianapolis Boulevard when you turn near the Purple Steel restaurant heading towards Wolf Lake. And then they got another one further down that is closer to, I'm trying to think, the one is near the Hegwish area. There's one near the Hegwish area. And so that one be super crowded, man, be long line, because that's just right outside the city of Chicago. Outside of the Hegwish area. You have East Side and Hegwish, that's the east side of Chicago. That touches the Indiana border, that touches Hammond, Whiting, Hammond, Whiting, East Chicago, which I'm in quite a bit, Gary, Maryville, Monster, goes towards that area of northwest Indiana. So, Hobart. So you're hitting, by the way, you do have a lot of black people in northwest Indiana too, a lot of them from the city that goes there. I don't know about their Juneteenth events. They might have done something at Wolf Lake yesterday, but I ain't go to Wolf Lake. But I'll tell you that it was a nice little turnout, but it was kind of like dry. So I left. I didn't go to the 119th over the Croc Center, but I went to, and the Croc Center was right across the street from Johnny Coleman's church, and I believe that was a church that eulogized Harold Washington. I believe that was a church that did that. Harold Washington, that's the church I believe that did Harold Washington's funeral years ago, when Stephanie Mills sung at his funeral, and it was on television. I think that was Johnny Coleman's church. I believe that was Johnny Coleman's church at the time. So, but it could be on YouTube. I believe it was Johnny Coleman's church, the late Johnny Coleman. But yeah, I was at the Juneteenth event, and I also want to say, man, it was like in that small park, in that little smaller park by the metro station, but it was like hard to get in and out, man. When them people park, they park so tight, and it's just really weird, man. Why would you have that event there at that little tight ass park? But it was a lot of people out there, because Morgan Park, the high school, well, it wasn't at the high school, but they could have had it on the high school ground at the football field. That's a new football field that they had there at the high school. But it was a large turnout. They had some dudes on the the buckets, playing on the buckets. And they had a little, what you call those little bouncy houses and stuff like that, playhouses. So they had that for the little shorties and the stage, but I didn't really hear no band. I know some brothers up there, guitar and bass and the drummer, but they didn't really, when I was up there, they wasn't playing no music. They just had the DJ up there. But I just want to get that little quick thing on the Juneteenth event that I went to yesterday. I stayed there for a little bit, and then I bounced, because you know they have them all over the city. Little things popping up here. I didn't go to South Shore area, which is, the South Shore area. They usually had this stuff from dusk to dawn, Juneteenth stuff. And I guess back in the day, man, you used to have everything for free, and half of the stuff be gone by 12:30, man. So I don't know if they still do that, but they had that at the South Shore. I remember having it at Rainbow Beach, because that beach has been redesigned, repaved and everything. It was live back in the early 90s, man, the mid 90s. Then it died down, but now it's back up again. People go out there like crazy at Rainbow Beach. But then I'm at Wolf Lake mostly, but I go to Rainbow Beach. But then lots of times I start to go to Stillman's Park. That's where the old Wisconsin Still was at. They tore that down. They made that little small little park. It's a quiet little spot. Most people don't even know nothing about it over there at 87th Street. But yeah, I doubt they had Juneteenth event. But I went to Juneteenth. I want to mention that about the Juneteenth event that I went to yesterday. So I didn't stay there that long. Just chilled there a little bit and then booked out. But it was a nice number of people. I just don't like it by that metro station like that. That close to the metro station. Hard to park in that residential area in the Morgan Park, Beverly area. Morgan Park over there in Longwood. Where the mansions at, where them Negroes in the mansions. But yeah, let me say this now. Chicago has areas where nice black areas, mostly black areas, and people need to, stop this mess. But not all our areas are run down. You have the brothers and sisters over the Morgan Park, Beverly, and there's some questionable parts in Morgan Park and Beverly. Then you have the Calumet Heights area, which is nice, aka part of it's Pill Hill. And then you have the South Shore area, which I believe Reverend Jessel Jackson lives there. I think he lives over there. He still lives over in that area. They have some mansions over, like, one side of 67th Street going to 71st, and the other side from 71st going maybe to 74th. But I know they have some mansions over. So that South Shore area, by the way, at the high school, the old high school, that's when they bringing those little migrants up in there, immigrants, and try to house them up over there at the old high school. Because remember, that old high school, I think, was the freshmen and sophomores or something. And then they had another high school that they never did completely finish, if I'm correct, but they tore that one down. They built this new one, which is right off Jeffrey Boulevard, the street. So it's interesting. I know they had a Juneteenth event in Homewood yesterday. I didn't go to that one. I thought about driving out to Homewood, which is a south suburb where a lot of Negroes live out there, both in Homewood and Flossmoor. They had a chance to elect the black mayor. I don't know why. They ended up electing, it was a white lady who beat the black lady, but it's mostly black people out there. The high school is nothing but black folks. Homewood Flossmoor High School. A lot of white folks moved to Northwest Indiana, but yeah, both Homewood and Flossmoor are mostly black. But but most of the south suburbs are. That's east of I-57 west. And on the western part, that was a white. But there's a lot of black people now moving over there. Because I was told, I know that mall, Orland Mall, nothing but Negroes. They don't live out there, but now you start having black people moving out in Orland. I mean, they're starting to move out there, man. I was like, Orland? Yeah, they started to move out there. When I was told that, I was like, damn, that's so shocking. I mean, I know when you go to them stores, it's mostly black. When you go running them stores, man, because I take my mother out there, for a medical appointment. But man, I know Orland Mall is nothing but black people up in there. Even Ridge Mall, too. Ridge Mall. Nothing but black people. When I went up in there several times last year, I want to say early this year, yeah, nothing but black people up in there. Because I remember back in the day, it was always a little mixed, but because you only go there a few times, get a few things. But man, that's mostly black. So, and that's why I say there's more black people than what they're telling you. These people lying. There's more black people than what they tell you. Also, generally, a lot of the Africans will be up north, but there's a lot of them on the south side now, man. Like I said, I'm in the south side, far south side / south suburbs. And sometimes we link the south suburbs as part of Chicago, particularly the ones that really border the city. Then you have those other suburbs, them black folks live out in the boondocks, going further out South Cook County and heading into Will County. But which is the county south of Cook. You have a lot of those Negroes live out there, man. But that's what Joliet's in, by the way, Will County. You got a lot of Negroes in Kankakee County, which is even further south. That's south of Will. But that's still considered the Chicagoland area, particularly the medium market, before you get to central Illinois. But, yeah, man, you got a lot of those, like I said, you got a lot. I seen some. I'll get back to. I seen a lot of Africans out there because I remember, because I don't really, you don't want to drive your car some places, so I hopped on a bus, man. 7 Africans on the bus. Early when I drove to the bank, I seen 7 Africans over to the bank. This is far south side, Stony Island. Then I seen, there's a little, not a Muslim mosque, but some Muslim thing over there, and it's mostly Africans. And then right across the street is on Stony Island. There used to be a church, the Vernon Park Church, which is now Linwood. They're in Linwood, excuse me. I believe they're in Linwood, Illinois. They moved to a even bigger mega church. That church is not that old. Now that's based in African Christian church. So, and then I got a few stores on 79th Street, and they got this little grocery store on 79th Street. I don't think most black Americans shop on that store. They basically go to Jewel, but I do see them in Food for Less in Dalton. And I'm like, Dalton? I remember before a lot of the Africans, like I said, on the north side, but they're in Dalton. I know there's some in the South Shore. I seen them in the South Shore, and some Haitians. I'm growing up. I seen, it was always in South Shore, but in Dalton, Illinois, I see some Africans out there, and where else? Not South Holland. That's what Dwayne Wayne used to live. That's a predominantly black suburb too. They have some nice homes out there in South Holland, but not South Holland. But that goofy chick, who insulted black Americans with the food comment, slave food. I believe her store, I believe I mentioned it before, is in Park Forest. That's a predominantly black suburb that's further south, where Rich East High School was at. Now it's Rich Township. They took Rich East, which is in Park Forest, Rich South, which is in Richton Park, by the old skating rink. That's still up. And Rich Central is in Olympia Fields. They combined them now to Rich Township. I think Rich East is no longer a high school. Either it's closed or it's a grade school. I don't know. I had to talk to some of my people out there, but yeah, that's out in the south suburbs. And I think she was based out there. Her store was, and I think she lived out there. So there's something in Park Forest. That's the south suburb. That's known as a black south suburb. So I noticed this, man. And then, a lot of them, and I ain't saying all, but a lot of them have a hatred towards black people, man, Aboriginal black Americans. But then you move in our neighborhood. Before you didn't want to be around us. Now you do. South side is really better than the north side, personally. But also, I think it's cheaper to get a home, but it's just better, more room. North side's more crammy. But you don't like us, but now you're saying you want to live around us, man. It's kind of head scratching. And I ain't say all, but I noticed that. And so I'm like, and I noticed that, man, I noticed that big time when I go up into Food for Less, particularly in Dalton. That's the Food for Less I usually go to, the one in Dalton. I may go to the one, it's the one in, it's in Chicago Heights. And I go in there a few times, but I don't really see, that's a south suburb too. I don't really see many Africans in Matteson. That's another black suburb. Matteson, you can watch their that town hall stuff. I think it's Matson University Park, one of them. Might be Matson. You can watch their town hall. Just type on Matson, Illinois, University Park, Illinois. You can look at their little town hall meetings, man. It's kind of funny. You can watch that on TV. I watch it sometimes on TV. I get a good laugh with them Negroes be arguing, clowning, arguing over some petty ass stuff. I try to keep it in loop because I had relatives, live out in the south suburbs, particularly University Park, which is in Will County, actually. The beginning of Will County. So, but and I go out there. They built up out there, but it's still that's too much in the boondocks for me, the wilderness. But a lot of people go out there because they can get a home easier. But it's just you need a bus. I mean, you need a car always. Sometimes I like taking a bus, especially when the weather's warm, or when I feel the roads are too congested. I take public transportation sometimes, but I drive my car most of the time. But nah, man, only buses like reliable. Down there go from city suburbs that 352 bus, which goes out from the 95th Dan Ryan all the way to the Chicago Heights terminal. But yeah, I checked out. I want to see them Juneteenth events, mostly Aboriginal Black America, or that one. I'm going to look at some news clippings, some news stuff, and see more about different because the media will usually cover it. The Chicago media, generally, especially Fox 32 and WG and Channel 9, they will carry it. And I hate Channel 9 news; they're the worst. But okay, Channel 9 and Channel 5 are the worst. NBC 5, they're the worst. So, but so I try to look at either Fox 32, CBS Channel 2, and ABC 7. That's 3 I look at because I can't handle 9 and Channel 5. Oh man, they're the worst. But and it seems like there's around the country with Channel NBC. Ugh, God. But yeah. So it's something you should look into. Look at because I've noticed that, man. I've seen more and more African people. Many of the people who don't seem like they like us, and I say all. But a lot of Africans don't seem like they like us, man. They in our neighborhoods, man. They in our neighborhoods, man. A lot of them don't like us. They ain't say all. I'm gonna repeat this. I'm not saying all, but a lot of them don't like us. But you're in our neighborhoods, man. That's a head scratcher. That's a big time head scratcher, man. But it gets a lot of them realize that the north side, them little so-called liberal whites with their racist ass don't want them there. They come to the south side. That's what I noticed. All right. I'm not stupid. I'm far from that. But I noticed that, man. I picked up on that. I picked up on that big time. When you go in the stores, I picked up on that. The Walgreens store on 87th Street, the Walgreens store over in Beverly, or the CVS store in Beverly, the Walgreens in Beverly, right there in 95th Street by the Starbucks. You see it, man. So I just letting brothers and sisters know this, man. I let brothers and sisters know this about the far south side and some of the events, but just some things, like I said, I noticed and I picked up on. All right, brothers and sisters, man, I hope I didn't do too much rambling. I want to talk about what I seen yesterday and there's some other stuff real quick. I'm going to probably try to do a video at least tomorrow if I don't do one later on today. I'm going to do some reading. I was going to go to Wolf Lake, but I doubt I may just read in the back. All right, then. Peace and love, brothers and sisters. I love you. Peace.